Welcome back to the reentry room where we talk about what happens after maternity leave and when the questions start getting louder than the routines. I'm Alexa Starks. I'm a leadership expert, a speaker, the founder of Executive Moms, and mom to two toddlers. And I help career moms navigate the transition back to work and the bigger one of us, so many start thinking about quietly, which is leaving corporate altogether to build something of our own. Because for a lot of us, the story doesn't end with back to business as usual, back to my normal job. It actually starts with what if there's something more? So, we're going to get into that today because this is a topic, this is a question I get asked a lot about that not necessarily going back to your old job, but what if you want to do something new and do something more meaningful? And I remember the first time I had that thought of, I don't think I can do this forever. And I don't think I want to do this forever. I mean, before I had kids, I was very career driven. I've talked about this. I was very ambitious. I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. I mapped out my promotion track and I wanted to work my way up to the C suite. I was very driven. But then after I had kids, I mean, even after just my son, I wanted to do something more meaningful than just advertising and operations. I wanted to do something that was more fulfilling and where I could spend more time with my kids, even though I worked remotely and there was flexibility. I could have my son home with me and had both my kids home with me before putting them in daycare for a little bit. And even then, I would block my calendar to go pick them up early from daycare at like 4 or 4:30, but that still is it was a lot, and I still wanted to spend more time with them and not constantly feel like I have to juggle and be on a call while I'm with them, and anyways, I remember that I liked the work I was doing, but it was the cost that it wasn't meaningful, it wasn't fulfilling, and I wanted to do more, and eventually, I started having to juggle with, um, taking meetings when my kids were home, and because I was trying to show that I could be more present, I could still hang and do my job, and so I was ignoring my own boundaries that I was setting, and everyone said, "Oh, it'll get easier," but it's not that it got easier, it's that I just enjoyed it less, and I felt guilty trying to do it, and then just wondering about doing something more meaningful. And I had a bad experience returning from leave. I had no support both times and I was like there's got to be a better way. So I wanted to do something more meaningful and I had found what it was. I figured it out. I wanted to basically build the systems I didn't have. And so I remember thinking that it's not that I don't want to work, it's just that I don't want to work like this anymore and I don't want to do this anymore. And that's where so many moms also find themselves in this limbo of gratitude but also grief and confusion and grateful to have a career, but grieving that it doesn't fit the life that they're building anymore after they're now a mom and have kids and it's not doesn't fit them anymore. But you're still ambitious. I'm still very ambitious. I have my business. I do a lot of work on still every day, but so I'm still ambitious. It's not that. It's that it doesn't fit your life anymore. So, if you've ever felt this pull, you're not broken. You're awakening to a new realization and you're evolving. Motherhood doesn't just change your schedule, it changes your standards and everything about you and your identity and what you tolerate and what you value. And it really makes you question, is this still meaningful to me? Does this work align with the life that I want to lead? And do I like who I am when I log on and log off? So, if you ask yourself those questions, start with, is this still meaningful to me? Do I still enjoy the work I'm doing? Or is there something else that might be more meaningful to me? A lot of us have come to the realization of, I want to do something that makes a bigger impact in this world and is more meaningful and changes something. And so if you've asked yourself these aren't signs of confusion, they're signs of evolution. And you're outgrowing a version of yourself, the pre baby you, that fit before, and you're ready to create one that fits now. And so before you make any big decisions, I want you to sit with these other three questions. One, if nothing changed in the next 12 months, how would you feel? How would you feel if nothing changed? If you did the same work, the same job, how would you feel? Would you start feeling burnt out, or would you be happy where you are? Right. And so that question can be sobering. Sometimes the ache that you're starting to feel now about wanting to do something different, that's just a whisper now. But if you do nothing in the next 12 months, that might be a really big drag on you where you maybe start to feel burnt out trying to do the same work when you're also being pulled in another direction. And the second question is, what parts of your current work still light you up? And these pieces matter, and they may become the building blocks of whatever you create. So, for example, if you love Excel sheets or project management, maybe you start a project management consultancy or some sort of fractional PM work, or you teach Excel to newbies. I don't know, but figure out what part of your work lights you up right now, because I want you to build on that. I want you to build on the skills you've built up in your career and take those with you, right? Because you're not going to be starting from scratch. I know it maybe seems like or feels like going from corporate to entrepreneur is starting from scratch, but you're not, or at least you don't have to think of it that way. You're taking all the skills that you've built up with you into your next business, your venture as you pivot. So, figure out what parts of your current work light you up. And then 3, what kind of life do you want your kids to see you living? And this is the one that usually cuts through the noise, because your kids don't need a mom who's doing it all. They need a mom who feels alive doing what she does. So, let me say that again, because that's really, really important. Your kids don't need a mom who's trying to do it all. They need a mom who feels alive in what she does do. Because you could be trying to do it all and burn out really quickly, and that's not gonna help anyone. But they need a mom. Your kids need a mom who feels alive, who feels happy, who gets meaning and fulfillment and joy. If you're going to work, that ripples through to your kids and your home life. So, and I tell my clients this all the time: don't quit from burnout. I want you to leave from clarity. And maybe that means planning your exit strategy for 5 months, 6 months, 3 months, 10 months, however long it takes you, so that you have something to look forward to. And this was really, really helpful when I started thinking about, what do I want to do instead of my job, instead of my corporate job. And so I started building my brand. I started building a website and posting on LinkedIn and Instagram, and figured out, what program do I wanna offer? What am I doing? And that way I still had an income coming in, but I could build it. And so I wasn't burning out as much at all, because I had a light at the end of the tunnel. I had a path forward, something I was working towards. And so that helped me leave when the time was right, when it was finally my time to leave, helped me lead from a place of clarity. And so you don't need to make a dramatic leap tomorrow. You just need to start with a plan. So start documenting your skills, what you're good at, what you're amazing at, and start connecting the dots. What do people come to you for right now? Whether it's at home or at work, what are you good at and what do people come to you for? And then start testing. Could you consult? Could you coach or create a course or do freelance, fractional work on the side? What would you want to do? What would that look like for you? Play around with it. If you have a spouse, a partner, a parent, talk with them, brainstorm, and then start saving money, not from fear of not having money, but start saving for freedom so that you can invest it into yourself and your new business, because that will matter. Entrepreneurship is waves and seasons, especially in the beginning of um, like survive or die. There's periods of bringing money in and no money. And it takes a while to also build up to the point of generating any income. And that's why I always suggest start as early as you can, building your brand and thinking about what you want to do while you still have your job. And so start saving a little bit here and there as much as you can so that you can invest it into your business when the time is right. And and the hardest part of this whole process isn't really the logistics, it's the identity shift, because you've spent years defining yourself by a title, and your team, maybe a structure at the company, your what you do for work, how you show up, and that's going to be a huge identity shift and skill shift also to go from corporate to entrepreneur. And a lot of mindset shifts I'll go into in other episodes about consistency and discipline and continuing forward when things are really hard and you question everything. But you've spent a long time building your identity around your corporate life, and that's okay. But leaving that doesn't mean necessarily losing it. Like I said, we're going to transfer a lot of those skills, that leadership, that drive, the ambition, some of your hard skills into something that finally works for you. So, motherhood didn't kill your ambition. You're just rewriting what you want to do that's meaningful. You still want growth. It's just on your terms. So, if you're listening to this and you've been thinking, I want more time with my kids, but I also want more purpose for myself, that's completely possible. And that's a blueprint waiting to be built. And that's what I do. I coach moms who are either on maternity leave or within their first year back, women who are trying to figure out whether they rebuild inside their career or start something new outside of it. And if that's you, let's talk. Book a free clarity call. I'll put the link in the description. It's on my website, executivemoms.co/coaching. We'll get clear on what you want, what's next, and what needs to change to make it real. Because you don't have to choose between being present and being powerful. You just have to start building the life that fits you. I'll see you in the next episode.